Sanje Jodon Soje Shonam Changchu Pordo Dani Japson Daye Chensu Ngebe Sonam Ge Rondon Penche Sanje Cho. In the Buddha, the Dharma, in the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge. I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through merit and practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood for all the sentient beings. 동인인지 정도 주변 시제 선생 간전된 중근 차는 빼못 인진자조는 소만도 전전전 점점 소하고 나타에 개성 틀원도 중 제교회도 왜 선생 신년 남나 차서 so we are on the verse number, I think 21. Is that right, Kelsey? Right? Okay. Before going into the 21, Simon and we had a discussion about the verse number 20. Maybe the previous, the way we explained, there might be some confusion about the fourth sentence of where
the fourth line
the fourth line
of the 20th
the slave only, the common warriors slay only corpse. So how to think about on that. Just maybe I say that in Tibetan, so no more confusions there. I hope. 제가 아주 하마 롤을 써보셔야지. 저시디 사모당당 무슨 니도 땅도나 다단다 슝기 단다 제서로 지금 저당 저시 망부지나는 태양야디 체도 니니 아니 세 먹어버 아니 제가 타만 시주래 수이네 그 신론이 직라 강준 세대비나 아니 로스 세블 지거도 지레서 세야도 수수 서버체부터 마이마 고랑고를 시도 요아레스 가르치는 디커스 그래 세고 그래 세대비나 로디 아니 세대부터 로지마도 민두스에 고아잡단 직 고아잡단 이거들 아니 제정 오늘 전행 안주 파 세고의 문제인데 제베이나 미들 뇌계고에 세고의 좀좀 조커르신 미디가를 뇌계소 단 뇌계 중년이 가르그르샤스나 조고 세번 모티바다 추비경기에 세 삼도지 코모도 난 내주 가가르마도 디 코르토나 디 메버서고르 상부로 와스 디마세브체 엔신 미기 송아가베이나 아니 로스에버 지고레스다 어디 내가 친구들 맨로 samdangdangdi.
So, and I've also put translations of two voice messages from Rinpoche to me, which are in the group now. So you'll see this also in there. So when we take the last line that says the last line of the 20th verse, which says common warriors in brackets slay only corpses. I think there are two ways of thinking about it. There's two ways of explanation. One is an explanation given, for instance, here in Gyaltsab Jay's commentary, and also it appears in many other commentaries, and that is that the sense that so the person that you're thinking, wishing to destroy or to kill, is actually they're already the person that you wish to slay or kill is going to die anyway. They're already going. They have to die. At the end of their lives, they will have to pass away. And so essentially, it's a bit like you. Even if you slay them, it's essentially like slaying a corpse, because that person is already destined to die. So that's and so. So we asked the question, why do we need to, why do you need to kill them? So you ask a rhetorical question to yourself, why do you need to kill them when all you're doing is killing a corpse? So that's one kind of form of explanation. A second explanation, which I think is, if we really look into the reality of the situation, is what is it that we're trying to destroy or kill or slay? And then we come down to actually the real thing that we're trying to kill or slay is actually the harm. So it's the harm done to us, and then the harm done to us by the other person is caused by their disturbed mental state. So it's the disturbed mind which is actually harming us. And if we can think about it this way, it's very constructive. If we can't think about it this way, then whatever, leave it. But if you can, then you think that actually, by slaying only, by taking away the breath of the person and slaying them, what we're doing is essentially just slaying their body, which is just the corpse. But we're not slaying the actual kind of enemy, which is the disturbed mind, which is wishing to cause us harm. So that's another way of thinking about it also.
So now no more talking about killing. Now let's move on. So now verse number 21. About Dungi Gombe Pin Geber Sheba. Verse number 20. Shenyan Dungi Yunden give you take a sever check. Give you take a sever check. Cobble and Ninji Diglan Zimjin Gela Gas. 21, please.
Furthermore, suffering has good qualities. Through being disheartened with it, arrogance is dispelled. Compassion arises for those in cyclic existence. Negativity is shunned and joy is found in virtue.
The Shenyang said, furthermore, said Ruba, the Dingelia, Dungelia, Tanglen Chegure said. Ruba, Dungan Tangdo languages. Dungan Tangling Sebekor Sheba, Dungi Tangdo Lambi, Malambayina, any Karzore, and so that Kijishu did it work Karzore. Never Chunguni Sejedu Madonna, and never Chimbudu Setu Mares. This Segugres, Masuba Tabio Mares. Jazanga de Segugures. That Seba Magum Chichi, Langa Shampaji and Jigri, Dio Maris. The Segugures. Serni, when Chunjun, the quit never Chunjun Tunjun Gane, to Comshin Jarche, and imagine never Chimbu Lebekavlea, Korea. Lemasona takpa japturis. Chezanga never chumuji levinaya, Sögure, said the Labja Digi Shudela, Ta Söbejigu Maimba. Takariusen, Penya Yoris, Ta Pen Chimbu Yoris, said. Did furthermore, said the signal did do this over.
So in the first, the very first word of that verse, that furthermore, what we have to think about is that this is in relation to being able to willingly endure suffering. And if we're, you know, if we, and also about the different levels of suffering that we're able to willingly endure. And so if we're not willingly able to endure like even small harms, then there's no way that it would be possible for us to endure much greater harms when they come along. So actually, we have to be able to, it's kind of like a way of, there's no other way than us training in, as small harms and difficulties come along, we train ourselves in being able to willingly endure or undertake those small hardships. And then when a larger difficulty or harm comes along, we will be able to cope to some extent. So, and actually, when we say moreover, what we're also saying is we're not only are we talking about being able to endure or have patience with you know, suffering and difficulties, where it actually says here we're talking about seeing it as having them as having great benefits. So on top of being able to endure them, they also have a great benefit.
또 저장고 동행 당행의 수백가 동아란조 당에 고에 개치슈지 당에 갈 통과했을라나 저장가 가란조 아니 곰 동해 간리지네 안쪽이 쇠토 그랬어야지 띵안주 신고고도스 동해 간리지나야 아주 쇠토 그랬어야지 띵안주 아주만 손에 말하면 좀 무슨 confident 레주어 봐 셈나를 심슈레지 어디가지고 다 르바당체 안체장가 겁나라와 미교는 왜리 칸이 요마이 세겠다 가리 인행아주 검토그레스 베나 다잔다 남전남로네 르바나로네 르바 약슈디 아니가란주 야 셈기 연된세티 셈기 연된들이야 아니 레심 잡은데 점베 아니 땡땡바 아니 곰심베주 짤만을 메드베 아니 가서래 롱앙기 야 펠토에지 셈는 누바랑체수여 되지 딩안주다 이제 짱마지니 마토나 안주 동네리야 그 뒤에 있는 지den적으로 두근 동네 지den잡나 아니 대화 자원이네요 요 말이 가진스나 또 동네는 고고로 봐 저장가 당아주 동네 컨트리 제비나요 쇠 마토 찍어요 말이 semeti 인지민지 sem날 내고 있으래.
So here, one of the very important things I see about being able to willingly undertake or endure suffering is that we have to have the sort of feeling of, we need to know or kind of have the feeling of confidence that whatever form of, whatever suffering or difficulties come to us, that we can have patience with them, we can endure them, and that we have a kind of sort of confidence in ourselves, and we use and in relation to this, what kind of reasons can we use to support that? Well, first of all, there's the in one of the verses in Shantideva which says there's nothing that doesn't become easier with familiarization. So that's one thing. But also, I think also in Pramanavartika, Dharmakirti's compendium of Pramana, then we talked previously about the qualities of the mind, or and so we talked about having a stable base, and how a stable basis for the cultivation of virtue, and how on the basis of that stable basis, if there was a sense in which with familiarity, the a virtuous
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a point at which when you're cultivating virtues, that they at some point they have a kind of natural ability to naturally increase, and you don't then need to continue to add additional effort in to do them at some point. That, and so this is related to what we talked about the mind having being a stable basis for cultivating virtue. And so in this and so if there's no sense in which we could have happiness unless we are able to either to be able to endure our suffering or to be able to remove our suffering. So we have to have this confident sense that whatever form of suffering comes, I will be able to endure, and I will be able to endure it.
Didish labna digumendo pena komsim bezu charmal ya te gugmare se di pena ranju nyomo tosum rabji cha shabina a주 통마 매번에 다 단다 봐도 nyomo tosum 지 곰잡니 타르친야 rab지는 아주 타르친 벗장자래 타르친야 스케면도 와고 가리 그때 윤배이네 동년디 아주 그때 이네 양내 양도 민도버디 리레레도 좀 배는 sem라까니 동네를 좀봐 진 개와디 지금 말에 개와 치마스 말 심진 튼줄이 이네 아주 또 통주도 와 제장 뒤 가리 딱 가르친 거였으나 동행기지 묘몽기지 다 두주 탐지 아니 곰심 배주 깨르말로 뛰고니지 아이 로 개위 그도 저로 콤바이나 개 곰심 배주 깨르말로 뛰 먹으니 아니도 상황게 봐 펠트야지 네가 만다지 요래 세지 다 뒤인지 민지 다 하고 와라 다음에도 비셔라다 아니 다 비제 메타바도지를 섬로 다 땅투네 야 다 디니 타마도 하나 맵스로 지래도 와 땡땡신 곰심 배주 깨르말이야 좀 먹어야 돼 지상고티 연나 맨나디 리얼리티 간 되고 그랬어 최대주기 니루고 쳐고 그랬어야지 니루들라다 메타바다 다메바다 제바다 아니 주단 견을 되고 와서 저 상말로다 아니 리얼리티들이야 산주 좀 된디 뭐지는 것도 와
So the Buddha sort of introduces us to, the kind of tries to introduce us to the reality of things. And so, we from beginning, so let's take when we're talking about this stable base and the requirement to continue to need further effort to increase or multiply both the negative emotion, the mental afflictions, or the virtues. Now, it's the three poisons. Let's take the three poisons. So from beginningless time, we've been familiarizing ourselves with mental afflictions and such as the three poisons, and also as a result suffering. Now, if those things were to naturally increase limitlessly, almost to an exact limit, then there would be absolutely no limit to our suffering. So it seems that from the negative side of things, from suffering and the mental afflictions, there is this sense that in order for them to, they don't naturally, that you don't come to a point where they naturally increase without further effort or further cultivation. Whereas for the negative, but for the virtues, it seems that at some point when you're cultivating virtue, that it has a kind of special potential whereby, without requiring additional effort, they reach a point where they can kind of naturally increase by themselves. And so it seems like this is a special potential, which is and this is related to what we talked about before, the stable basis of the quality of the mind, called which has a kind of stable dendemba, a kind of stable base for the cultivation of virtue. Now, this stable base, so these things are the kind of things that the Buddha tries to introduce to us as what he sees as the reality. So things like when we meditate, so these kind of qualities that would increase naturally would be things like meditation on and the selflessness of persons and phenomena, meditation on impermanence, these kind of virtuous qualities, which at some point naturally increase due to this stable basis. And the Buddha is kind of introducing us to, the Buddha wants to introduce us to reality, to how things arise. So including this idea of this stable base of the mind, and also in terms of how things arise causally in relation to causes and conditions. So this is kind of, this is some way connected to how the Buddha introduces us into how things are, to the reality.
Awesome. Tamandra Shandi Suru, Shuji, Shen to New Duni, give you to what's up a chip, call Bala Niji, Dylan Zimshin Gela Gasechta. So maybe I should try to speak in English because I'm forgetting my English. I need to practice. And someone need to kind little bit of relax. So mutual benefit. Okay. So the here was number 21. When we try to overcome suffering, it is not just we are just only
I think it's better to, rather than saying having patience with suffering, is better to being able to endure.
Okay. Having a patience with suffering, it doesn't mean that only we have to accept this suffering only, but on the top of when we think about patience and overcoming suffering, simultaneously we have to have a kind of a confidence that there is an immense benefit for yourself. And now, as we are studying Bodhisattva's way of life, then we have to think not only this opportunity of having patience. Patience is not only for your own benefit, that gives you such a strong understanding or opportunity while seeing or having the patience on the suffering, that you feel like I can get rid out of the suffering. And then once you see this reality, getting out from the suffering, then same time, if one who has the bodhicitta imprint, I believe everybody has a bodhicitta seed in everyone. So especially human beings who has the intelligence mind, when they try to overcome the suffering, that at the same time, when you see that somehow we can eliminate the suffering once and all for all, then you have to think it, because when you look at others, because now your suffering is an example. Take this example, and then once you see others suffering, immediately you have to think, these people who are suffering, they can get rid of the suffering, because the reason is the same. Why I'm suffering? How can I get out of suffering? And what is the reality of the suffering? When we look at yourself, all those how the things work on you, it's the same for others. For that, simultaneously, when practicing and overcoming the suffering or having patience with the suffering, the one who is practicing bodhicitta, it brings improvement to the improvement of a bodhicitta. Improvements
increases
increases the practice of bodhisattvas practice. I don't know. My English, when I say it a lot, and I don't know if I deliver the right message or wrong messages. That's really fun. Okay. And then whenever you create virtue, generate virtuous action, and then you feel very happy. And once you accumulate lots of merits, you have this kind of I think Simon can say it better. Jazanga namgyunga zo digbe ki le chebalaya gawa shukchumbu yores. Ta gawa shukchumbu yores. Ta ngone gyudan dribu gi namsha sebo chakobe shula nyeba nyebe shula gyud di chena dribu di kenye res. Ta chusana 다 samrodigi lamsa di gyu gewa chebena du deba yungure gyu migewa chebena dubu dungi yungure sta chebe kabla ani gewa chela rangshingi suchigi ti sanji songres lago mari ti sinri bege approve chebres la goya gu goya yo mari ti suso rangi ta chotobji ti ta chotobina ani yu gewa chebe tu zembe 마음을 지부지 통해 지부도 수 연구에 besonders 타랑부 매딩이 sonders 오 맞게와 슈마 게와 야고는 타 쳐버려 sonders 된저기 삼로지 레토버지 스토버이나 아니 딜란 잼신 인게라 가 세티 레토에 주초로버디 다 레준제레 이지 템보지 네토버지 소고도와.
So in terms of in terms of when we think about this last line, the fourth line here, where it says we shun negativity and we take delight in virtue. Now, normally there is a sense in which we ourselves actually, to some extent, are a little bit the opposite. There is a sense in which we often take delight in negative things which are going to lead to negative results. And so what we have to do is develop is to think about cause and effect relationship, and particularly the karmic cause effect relationship. And that if you engage in a virtuous cause, you'll receive a beneficial result, and if you engage in a negative cause, you'll receive a negative result. And we have to have some kind of real conviction that that if I perform this kind of action, I will definitely get this kind of result. And so we have this very strong, if we can very clearly decide for ourselves that about this relationship, not just believing in the Buddha's words, but also to some extent, even the scientists will tell us that if you perform virtue, then you'll be a happier person. So if we can decide very clearly about this, then very naturally that engaging in virtue leads to happiness, then we'll very naturally have the we'll then have a very natural inclination to engage in virtuous actions, and so we can almost have, that in the future, the results of our, if we continue to perform virtue, then in the future, from afar, positive results will come, and even we may be able to have the sense that if we continue to perform virtue, then we in this life, then in future lives, our future lives will be much more happy and secure if we're able to do that. So this last line about shunning negativity and taking delight in virtue is really based on a very stable, trusting faith in the karmic law of cause and effect.
다 디기 동에 당는 거 수바 차부지 다 니바 쳬라 니심 그 수바 공바 세티 다 딜라 쳬라 니심도 수바 공바 세티 페이지 디멘로 다 잉글리시나 롤라 meditating on the patience that definitely relies on dharma seti ribe 다더라 ribe.
So I think perhaps another translation I have is the patience of gaining certainty in the Dharma. Neshi So the patience of gaining certainty in the Dharma.
당부디 초와 진주 줄라 라레버 상완치메 바세티 다데리샤 anger and those getting angry depend on a cause and hence lack independence. 어디죠? 다들이야도 좀 디올로 처음에 좀. This the logic here, how it goes, it's very skillful, very skillful, and will be very useful for our daily basis or daily life.
Practical,
very practical, really, very practical. So now the best reason why we should be angry is because we will ultimately say that it is harming me, or it is
causing me harm.
Or causing me harm. That is our reason. Then here Shantideva is saying, if the only reason is because the excuse that we have to be angry at someone is because they are causing harm towards us, then he's debating. Actually, Shantideva is not debating with us. Shantideva is debating with our anger. So here it goes. Verse number 22. Tibal라서 동행지 중에 체다 미초벌 생외나는 지대초 대다군이 gen지글세. 22, please.
As I do not become angry with great sources of suffering, such as jaundice, then why be angry with animate creatures? They too are provoked by conditions.
Angry with the animate creatures, lamna, di karjago.
The animates and then get semyobe kejere the unit.
Ale semyo number. Ale animate lamna semyobe kejerwe.
Semyobe tribal kondolami, and is semyobe ganza semyobe ganza dan semjin the sopadan so karichin.
Ale animate lana semyobe kejerwe.
Yeah, semyobe.
Okay. I
That
didn't know
is
that.
a
Okay.
conscious living beings. Living beings.
Living beings, conscious living beings. 是吧? So it's really true, actually. We never get angry when you are having headache, and even you ate something, it will cause harm towards you, like a peanut butter. I don't have a what we call it allergy towards peanut butter, but once I have it, I feel like a little bit headache afterwards. So sometimes because I love peanut butter, so I time to time, like on Sunday, I feel like now it's rest day, so I can get sick, I can do whatever I want, so I ate peanut butter and torture myself, but never I never get angry towards peanut butter. So for like this, now the jaundice is also an example, like a headache. We know that it becomes causes of our suffering, but we never get angry at it. So Shantideva is debating if it is the reason that you can angry, you are right to be angry at, because the reason is that it causes harm. Then you have a right to be angry at the jaundice, and you are right to have angry at peanut butter. But then nobody is going to accept that, like me. That's a good debate. And then the person who replies, that's us, actually. And they will say that the verse number 23. No. Here, Semyo Namna Chiditro, Tada Gunje, we have to finish this. Semyo Namna Chiditro, Tada Gunje Genji Gus. Yeah, I think it's good done. Yeah. Then now 23. Penna Mindu Shindu Yang, Nedi Juma Juwater, Tishin Mindu Shindu Yang, Nedi, and Yuma Juma Jurus. 23, please.
Although they are not wished for, these sicknesses arise, and likewise, although they are not wished for, these disturbing conceptions forcibly arise.
다 딘나로리아 단다 참잘 세트 같이 그래. 아주 베지다도 참자스기 봐.
The boundaries are the connection between the two.
Boundaries lana the connection between the two lines.
Yeah, making a connection between the two different sections.
Different sections, right? They should do that tangi never chibi yuimbi chirislana never chibi yu yoba samshigi ani kejamares. And Korea nusim nubisim duwa sechita. Sunyo de zambe ngege tangi peanut butter soba de solaya ani nusim yomarwas nubisim yomares labinas.
So joining these two, making a connection between these two verses, if we say that, so if in this debate, Shantideva's debate with us and our anger, and he's saying, well, okay, if you say that, you say that they harm me, then why don't you get angry with the bile, etc., the jaundice? But then we answer to that question, well, actually, no, it's not just harm. It's because they have harmful mind, and I don't get angry with peanut butter because peanut butter doesn't have a harmful mind. If you respond like this, now Shantideva brings in, this is the connection. Now Shantideva brings in the next debate.
Neji Juma Juwater, teaching Mindu Shinduyan, nenji nyumo chuma churus. Ta di purudire chik chamdo tanda di sholoka di 23 di remdo da. Diwa tango do. Lamsan di lemdo. Che zanga kansa la yang ane chorrig marewe labnas. Ane teda kuin nyumo jinji kansa teda kuin jang nyumo jinji kuwe kola rawame mebichirus. Ta rawame bade digu udwa nyana. Che zanga 단지 티벌로 소버트 졸이야 콘도산의 디그메 비좀젠디 미리비 좀젠디 티벌로 소버트 주 규den견 창월 규den견 창원도 잡에 고 나요야 지레스 라베이나 아니 마란주기 네 진인이 간사디기 아니 그들의 콘도산의 디그마르베 가르전스나 코에안 규den견 창원도 주네베지 차용고 여러 봐 세존없이
So the debate continues, and what is about what is the reason for our anger, and then here in these verses where it says in Gyaltsab Jegi Keja there, so we say, so you say, okay, I don't get angry with jaundice or the bile condition which causes jaundice, because that arises from causes and conditions. So then Gyaltsab Je will answer to us here. Well, then, also all of the the person who is causing you the harm is also so the bile and stuff arises not on its not independently, but on the basis of causes and conditions. It doesn't have its own independence, and so then Gyaltsab Je responds to this by saying, well, the person who's causing you harm is a person with afflictive mental afflictions, and therefore under the sway of the causes and conditions of those mental afflictions, they are also incited by the causes and conditions of the mental afflictions, and therefore it's also not reasonable to get angry with the person who is causing you harm, as well as the bile, because for the same reason. Sorry, because they don't have because they don't have independence, because they their harmful mind arises on the basis of their negative emotions, so they're not independent.
딱 간단하장 되게 간사디 간사디 추너버지야디 아니 가서 그래 규den견 창을 때는 중바 아니 코랑 가서 그래 nengi nyomo juma juru sedu gyudan gen choba tsam teni ani kansa digi ngajula ya noba gen go se di lebar bas lebar sechi mindu shindu kansa digi chedu ni lamsang khora ko ya ge chabada ani samin kwado slanen ro maris kansa digi gen mangbu je choba teni ani 계제 청의 중에 막 보지 경원지 다 들렸den지 아니 거기 말게 저게 레기 다 소소기 디보로야 미팅 비주 막 보지 아니 다 저게 미팅 비주스도 저들어 봐 가서 그래 다 레냐 봐 보지 샤샤부터 민체 아니 never give it us.
Yeah. And so so the person who's causing us harm again is not is not an independent, it doesn't act independently, it doesn't just come from asking where Simon is and then trying to come and harm him. It's not like that. There's a whole sequence, there's a whole connection of causes and conditions, even that a whole accumulation of very fine karmic imprints and causes and conditions, maybe what's the word, between which are between nadang gansa shengi mitumbe laid or
that lady,
between that person who's trying to harm me and myself, there is a kind of discord, a kind of karmic discordant conditions, which then all of those aggregating together is what causes the harm. It's not that it comes completely independently out of anything. So it's the accumulation of the causes and conditions that create this, karmic causes and conditions that create this.
Now here it says that you really wanted to get angry at something is the nyomaba. So the cause of the suffering, the mutual the karma connection, which that person, when your enemy, when they look at you, they feel very
They feel their mind gets
discomfort.
disturbed. Yeah, their mind gets disturbed and they feel very uncomfortable.
Disturbed. Oh, that kind of disturbed mind. That disturbed mind is the one that you should get angry at. 그래서 코란졸 디 벽에 남질 남는 마도 니디 인지디 다다 랭큐지 말을 제장가 다 주다 게임하고 처벌을 된지 아니 콘도 게버레세 주다 게임하는 또 쪼르디 파 예와도 채원도 전에 아니 가사 되기 소설로 통도 아니 그이 투약이 주죠 봐. 그이 투야지. 간사되기 nga 통도 nga 마데바 직당 nga야 네버견도 삼바지 삼상래 와이 주요 봐. 어딘지기 삼바티케 기타 레드리 레다 뇽무니기는 저 레드체 어딘지들이야 오늘 지나다 딜 콘도 사고 요리스 저 콘원에 사베이나 토나 뇽모라 토 리기 간사를 토하면서 제장가 디거도데 간사다 아니 남규 레니 간사다 차원이 야와제 고래 세지 대화로 미치게 랍지 뛰어셔야지 따단도 디간 레송아 제장가 야와 컨디션으로 했을때 지단에 간사다 차원이디 야와제 두주주요데 이내 다 단테도 쪼르 바 직비에 받을제 아니 코용아 통도 말아 마가 차야 이 마데버다 이 투로에디 뒤뒤 체 다가란 찍부게 아이남 겨우 슈마 경험에기 유지된된 거요. 당에 원에 콘로사베이나 겨왕아메기 지금 코가 통도 마데 체기 레텔랑아 콘로사고인도 차그도스.
So we have to really identify what it is that we have to get angry with. And if you're going to sort of analyze this, then really we should when so anger arising, so somebody getting angry at us is based on an accumulation of many causes and conditions. But if we start to separate this out a little bit, when a person almost if there's a bad karmic bad karmic discord between people, then immediately when somebody sees us, they're immediately sort of they feel uncomfortable, their mind gets disturbed, they feel unhappy, and even their harmful intent within them can come up very quickly. Now this is caused between mental afflictions and karmic imprints or karma. Le Koransana di Kochawa Dochi Kajit, Dela Kachawa Kajit, Bakcha Kajit. So not even when we talk about karma, you can sometimes we talk about karmic imprints and then sometimes about karma as action. So here we're thinking more in terms of karma as action. And so the real place where if we were to focus our anger on any place, the real place we should, when His Holiness talks in the teaching, sometimes he says how we can separate out a person from their actions. So in the immediacy of it, it's very difficult for us to do that. If in you know, situations that arise suddenly, it's very difficult for us to separate out, oh, this person is like this, but his actions are like, their actions are like that. But if we were able to think more deeply about this, then, you know, we could see that, you know, this situation that occurs in this life is actually born out of karmic, you know, karmic actions that came from previous lives, and therefore those if you really want to get angry with something, you should get angry with those karmic actions. Say namagi le chawe le dela kondolangorea. Yeah, so you should get angry. You should get angry with the karmic actions that happened in the previous life, which were a part of the causes and conditions for this harm to occur.
And then even
nanzu gi chebe dikbe le dela deni
dirva.
Yeah.
Dire.
So yeah, is that
So
yeah, you say that one.
Yeah, so the not we don't need to go to our previous life, but some cases are like this life made kind of situation, that some misunderstandings in the family or the friends, inside the friends, or the enemy, how he or she turned your family. So in this lifetime, we can learn so many lessons from that. Somehow, when we are angry, we never go through the patterns. The patterns na
yeah.
The
kind of like the history.
The history. We don't go through the history of how we become enemies. We don't go through the history. We are stuck with with your own ego. Like, he hurt me. It doesn't mean that yes, he or she hurt you. It is like how from the beginning, how it becomes misunderstanding, and that misunderstanding has to do something with your delusion or his delusion. So how it creates the mess from the beginning, right? 제장가 사면 트란소나 제장 란주기 체딜 차샤베이나 아니 란주 아니 지기 삼십 모토비기 차마보지 루체 안 타마델이야 아니 콘로사 주잔베 콩알 녀제송세 삼로 지마도 아니 간데 제제다 녀바디 수술 다지여베이나 다딩 얘기를 달 가리스 두르송 얘기제 가리시아바 그 가를 나오송 은 그게 알마 통디 마가 차에 유튜브 가르쳐 주셔서도 니 당하란 좀 남셔진도 야고도가 빼디 가르사 in order to 가르사 the clap you need two hands like 줘봐 니 딱딱 디가는 저토베 좀 총베이나 수수 셈나도 구형지도 봐 어디 콘도스 자 초그지 그 콘 카면도 세지 다제산 디점시 체 디점시 말이 친능하면 능함의 값소야 아니 레 먹고 싶지 싸서도 아니 제들이야 아그 통디 거라는 나와 조금도 세게 계제들이 용도 왔다는 거사 중호 신고 말인데 디 둘러세고 컨티뉴 세고로 무지스니 통디 거라는 나와 조금도 쓰니 영적으로 봐 뒤고 생감에게 레 먹고지 싸웠디 땡지 계제디 땡의 영적으로 상거로 봐 삼적으로 봐
So, you know, we can look at, as Rinpoche was saying before, we can look at how, even in this life, you can look at how, you know, we tend to think of just like, oh, you know, they, you know, there's discord. What we need to look at is how, you know, we tend to think of just how, oh, he just hurt me, he got angry with me, or he or she got angry with me, they hurt me, they said bad things to me. But what we don't do is look at the kind of stages of how this has developed from, the beginning of where there's some kind of discord, and then slowly which turns into resentment and anger, and therefore and then someone harming us. And so what we need to look at is how how this sort of how does this develop. We need to think, if we need to think about, well, what sort of what things were said between us, from me to them, from them to me. How did the dislike for my dislike for them, or their dislike for me, how did it arise? What are the stages of how it arrives? And here we're not just talking about, so you can imagine if you can do that kind of analysis just in this life, and going back and seeing how looking at the analysis of seeing how these things arise is very helpful. But I think also you can imagine, well, if we're talking about lifetimes and lifetimes of previous karmas between different beings, and amongst relationships between sentient beings. And so it's very easy to see how someone could immediately say, oh, I don't even know Serkong Rinpoche. I don't have much to do with him, but as soon as I see him, I just have a bad feeling about him. I dislike him. And you can see that because of the this lifetime and lifetimes of karmic kind of imprints and bad connection, that this could easily arise, even though we don't even know why it really occurs, on the basis of those karmic seeds.
So Westerners, or most of people, Westerners, they say, I had a bad energy from him. That, and if you really want to use this energy in a good definition, so that is from our previous life, that something has gone wrong. So that is to become the cause, and now we can feel the energy. If you say that, then I totally agree with the bad energy. So otherwise, we call the different kind of healing energy and energy as something like wind coming to you. That is, I think, your own deluded mind created another deluded thing, and then you were confusing into it. So, yeah, okay. That then 24 초월 차시 마삼장 기분 남니 기너초 개버 차시 마삼장 초월 디신 개버 주르사 24th place 24.
Without thinking, I shall be angry. People become angry with no resistance. And without thinking, I shall produce myself. Likewise, anger itself is produced.
It's true. If we do a little bit of research on the anger, there's nobody thinking like, today I feel like I want to be angry today, and then anger comes. That never happens. That we have to agree with Shantideva. And then somehow it is really funny how it works, because sometimes even the word, it's very kind of normally you tease with your friends, with the just jokingly you tell, give a nickname, or to play with his to joke around.
Yeah, just joking around with them. Yeah,
you're playing games. Okay, then normally he's fine with it, but certainly some occasionally he become so mad at you. Okay, and then you don't know why he is angry. It comes like out. without kind of control. So that at that time moment, he himself doesn't have a intention or a motivation to be angry with you. Somehow, we can definitely say once person is becoming angry, he's kind of like possessed, right? Sure.
Yeah, like possessed. Yeah, something like it's possessed. Yeah.
And then the why I'm saying this with the confidence is, I'm not. We are the not one. The second person is not one to decide whether he has a motivation, he wants to be angry, but he himself, the first person himself, after anger or he has done something bad towards others, hurt others, then somehow, if he wants to be honest, then he says or she says that, wish I haven't done that. So I feel sorry, and I am not myself. So those are the things that it comes out from his mouth after a minute or hours later. Maybe some people takes months and years because of the because they love themselves very much. So they want to hide the dark secret. So now the reason when we give Shantideva is still debating with our anger, saying that the person has an intention to harm us. So then we have to double check with, does he really have an intention, or should we say he doesn't have a kind of
So do they sort of try to cause us harm from sort of just kind of independently, or is it out of control? Do they do it in a very controlled manner, or they do it without freedom, kind of out of control? Which way do they cause us harm?
양카시 디양 체드니 네베테니 용초바 봐 콘도사와 뭐 이나야 다 단다디 콘도 거르게 시기요 봐디 투주어 말레스 카시 콘도사야라 인지 민지 아니 간사디고 가 콘도상 꾸능도 고고요 말때 이네 네베게발라 카시 양 콘도 매체 양코 강준이 파중어리야 아니 네베겐도 토네 삼반님베고 토네 네베게바 용수 초로 봐.
So, it's possible, here with, not talking about the other mental afflictions, but specifically anger. And it's, usually people don't sort of, very specifically sort of generate a motivation to get angry. But it is possible that sometimes people have a kind of harmful intent. They're not really like very strong anger, but they can, in some sense, sort of bring up, specifically bring up that, cultivate that kind of harmful mind without actually giving really rise to strong anger. But they can sort of very, what's the word? Very sort of specifically cultivate it sometimes. It's possible. It is possible for that to happen.
Here we
nous sommes mieux, contre mais nous sommes mieux, et ni che du nene konzu nous sommes digi gomborche do shi tore.
Here specifically, when somebody is angry, we have to always have to believe that person has rawang meche ani koran rawang meche towares.
They've got angry out of their own control. They're not under their own control. They're not sort of acting autonomously. They're out of control.
어디 띵이 짐지냐 혹시 도스 제가
So Rinpoche said, we must really remember this. We must really remember that the person is out of control. They're not under their own under their own power or control at that time.
So the point here is we cannot become a reason, and because it is the cause of the harming us. That is a very big reason to angry at. And then second is that a person has, because he's harming me from his anger, and then you have to bring the second reason. Does he harm me with the intention to harm me or not? Then if you say because he's angry, then we have to automatically come to in our conscious thinking, he did that through anger, so he did that by losing control, like he dropped a mug from on the table accidentally, something like that. Then now third one is the I think the 따지를 소래 묘모 탐제를 반자네. 묘모 탐제.
So this is the third one is connected to all the negative, all the mental afflictions, not just anger.
따지를 또 verse number 25. 녀바 지니 탐제다 득반 넘버 나서 대다 군 유튜브에 중 라와 요마 이노스. You know 25th. Please.
All mistakes that occur and all the various kinds of wrongdoing arise through the force of conditions. They do not govern themselves.
또 좀 라와 요마. Person who has an attachment, person who has an anger, person who has an ignorant mind, they do all these negative actions through the three poisonous minds, and then they don't know that it is really harming towards them. They have this the cause or to harm us and to harm themselves because of the not the actually. I think about the go to the root of the true poisonous mind, which is the ignorance mind. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they love to harm, they love to kill, they would like to fight, they do it without control. All these negative actions, they do it by not knowing. By not knowing, Buddha have to give us a discount. Karma, when we accumulating karma, a less negative, that we accept because it's a reality. It's not like Buddha wants a story and he's giving us the discount. It's the reality. We have saying Chinese army killing Tibetan, one Tibetan, and one Tibetan killing, the one Chinese army killing 100 Tibetan, or then one Tibetan killing 100 Chinese army. Same. Did I confuse you? No. Okay, you know, you got. I think you got it. Let me repeat that again. One Chinese soldier kills 100 Tibetan. Then one Tibetan killing one Chinese army. We have a saying. It's the same. Because the Tibetans, we believe in a the believe in a law of causality,
Yeah, laws of
and then the power of the cause and result, and then the strength of the power of the negative mind. By knowing the Dharma, you knowing the reality and going against it, it creates more suffering. For now, we have to say, but not knowing the consequences well, and by doing it through the ignorance mind, then we have to say they don't have they don't have a freedom.
Yeah, they're not. They're not in control. They're not in control of the situation. I think it's better to say.
Yeah, okay, not control of the situation. So if it is not in the control of the situation, then why there's no reason to be angry at. And then the here which is the example is the water running down downsides.
The water running down.
Water running downside.
Downhill.
Why you should be angry at water running down sides? It's the reality. So there's nothing to be angry at. That's what Rinpoche is trying to say. So to put in a better example, I was thinking like people in Japan, they have the tsunami. And if you ask people of Japan, who's your worst enemy? And they might say somebody's name or not tsunami. Because if they think how many people are getting killed and how much harm is the tsunami is there in the top the list, but they will never say the tsunami is our enemy, because that's what Rinpoche is trying to say. So why to angry at water running down sites?
Downhill.
Down the hill.
Yeah.
Down the hill. That's better.
The natural event it's a natural event like the tsunami. They're natural events. So why would you get angry at them?
So somehow now we have to stop here today. Now I think time. Okay. So point is, maybe we can put some additional reasons and points on the top of this Shantideva's debate with the anchor. So the point is, we have to bring all the logics and reasons that getting angry, I have no reason. I am angry through my own kind of a wish, not a wish, actually, it's the force of the negative imprints. Whatever I try to give a reason that I have a right, but we have to bring that reason is not a right enough reason, a very weak reason. So then we slowly will accept that getting angry is a very stupid thing. And then one day, if our practice on the patience go up, then we will, once we get angry, sometimes we might cry because we have done something very wrong thing. And sometimes we might laugh at ourselves that we go against the reality. So that's what we need. That's why Shantideva is trying to add so many reasons. So sometimes we ourselves in this situation of pandemic. So it is a good reason to get ready to laugh at anger. Once we have the our normal world situation back in this, once we go back to the same old our situation in the world, then we are so ready to come out. So then we can see we are out from the retreat because we are stronger. So please think like this. So we stopped here at the verse number 25th. 25th, right? And the 25th. Yeah.
Yes, in the 25.
And the most important now, if you look at Shantideva's how he's trying to direct you into is, he wanted to say, but he cannot say it directly. He wanted to say it, everything that what the negative actions, what we are doing, what others are doing, is through the ignorance mind. So he's trying to show you the true color of the ignorance mind. Nyeba seti suffering chamalola nyebas jeje mingta suffering yongya ki gyula ani nyumong seti tanda sik tagaran dichin nanda dinde dus tensu tanda tagaran.
Yeah, so it uses
2050 narola sik de la nyeba seshtua.
Yeah, so he uses the words faults here, and the faults here are also in thinking really essentially in terms of also suffering as well. The faults which accrue, and where does that come from? The faults of the suffering come from. It comes from the mental afflictions. That's the primary cause, is the mental afflictions. So that's how we have to think about it. It's not just faults.
Oh, never said suffering che, false said che,
Yeah.
false said.
Yeah, the faults. Here, the word faults is being used as a way also to talk about suffering, because that's a fault for us, and that it comes from the mental afflictions.
Oh, dear, mental affliction is chumbares. Da Maranzo Namja Gundune, Maranzo la ya, Dunge Mangu Shuju Yonyati, never do tak some of Hartangosna. The countries Dangzin ya two song setting, that Maranzo Chakwaji, some tango yore, any Konduji, some tango yore. Dungi Tang Tiringi, yes, Chakwaji Lagachijo, Konduji Lagachijo, the Zu Changmegi, Mala Dungi songs. Water Chongsabi Shula. And Lamsan being Muji and Tokotomonzega Droche, any Niekejan Rochi Laguemendua, the Lamsan Kora Samrostanche, the Nyabati Tamji Yon Sag Zawa Drabiti, Dangzin contest two songs, say some tango. That it said the Dangzin Chare. And it said the Dangzin then you more to some the two ski over the so she said to the debut with Jawad Shuchibuji some of Korsabi Shula. 아니 랑싱디 다 체딜이야 체디기 체셰도 동해 마임바지 아주 동해 영 고야디 다 주등진지 뭐 소마 찍버지가래 섭니다 이제 레온데 네 제가 아메 체디기 동해다 한 생아메기 등진이디 딱다르고 라트도 봐 어디 가는지다 숙자고는 디감자고 그래.
There's one very important point that we have to really make effort in understanding, and usually, in our day-to-day lives, there's suffering, and the faults as mentioned here. Suffering comes up, and usually the suffering comes up also in relation to attachment and anger. But what we have to do is we have to make a very strong a connection between our suffering and how that is related to our self-grasping or ego grasping. And so what we need to do is to really understand that we need to introduce ourselves to the idea that, like today's attachment and today's anger give us, then provide us with suffering. But we need to sort of introduce ourselves to the idea that the underlying root of that, the underlying things which cause these faults, the suffering of these suffering, these faults, is actually the self-grasping. And if we can see that relationship in this life, just from the sense of how the self-grasping in this life is making that relationship in this life, and how and the strong causal karmic link between self-grasping and the poisons and the mental afflictions. If we can really get a sense, even just in this life, about the cause and effect relationship between those, then after that, naturally, we can sort of understand, we can have a kind of trust or belief that, that the previous life's self-grasping has caused this life's suffering, and that then the continued self-grasping which we engage in this life will then in future lives bear its fruit in suffering. So this point is something we really need to focus and make effort to kind of ratra to become acculturated to.
Okay, so thank you very much. Now let's do the dedication. Jizar tebe tenla riba shi nyendang zendang suishin rauda ne samje nanla samje jongwa yi namje loyi tezum chebar jo kare rabe gurbe shingam su pendang dewa madu jongwe ne jere sangwan dinjin jazu yi Shabe sidi pardo dengyur gewang gundo yanda lama atan demen shweji bela longje sadan lamji yunden ramzo ne doje changi gowang do Shambe babu jidere tenpa dan gundo sambo tenyang deshin de teda gungi jeso dalo chir Gyawa dida tamji rabdo duzum shebe gyawa tamji di owa kanla chodo ngawa dashin gewe zawa di gun gyang sambo chir rabdo war denpa rinjin choge ma kyawa Chabjan nyambara gyube chode ni nyingji chenbu yirwa gyoba Pende de sevara chevar so. Well, so thank you very much, everyone, and I wish you very happy New Year. So we couldn't meet on the first day of the New Year, but anyway, I'm wishing you lots of greetings and best wishes. And now, as we have discussed, the Shantideva's Bodhisattva's way of life. So to make the our upcoming New Year a very happy New Year is in our hand. It's not a just wish I'm wishing you. It's even His Holiness Dalai Lama will say Happy New Year to you. But to make this coming up New Year happy or not, it's in our hand. And we cannot escape from any kind of situation. We have to face the situation. We have to challenge the situation. So in order to challenge the situation, we have to put more gas to run on the field of this pandemic. Not only this pandemic, but more the problem is our mental, not a mental problem, but more kind of the anxiety and the fear, and then being very isolated yourself, feeling lonely. So those, now Shantideva's this great experience that he has put on the paper, or which the textbook itself is the number one to make this upcoming new year in very useful. So for that reason, I wish you, and I really encourage you,
Yeah.
To read more, contemplate more, and meditate more, and then to feel like this book that we are studying is not for the only Wednesday time, but it is for every day. And whenever the suffering comes in front of you, you should be very happy. Now, this is something like something that I can check whether my practice is working or not. So, with a folded hand, I wish you, and I pray that you have a very amazing 2021. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rinpoche.